Welcome to the narrated version of the Nightwalker. In this video, I'm going to be talking you through the fights in the video, just describing what I was thinking, the strategies, pointing out some retrospective things I might have done better, and hopefully you can learn from the video. So in this video, I was in Syndicate Nullsec. I was in a dual rep Vexor Navy issue, and there was this Jaguar here on this gate. Now I had a pretty good idea that there's probably more than just a Jaguar. You always got to assume people are going to outnumber you. Usually more often than not, you're going to be outnumbered. So I want to wait and see what's going on. If you watch him, he aggroes me. Now, a Jaguar would never aggro a Vexor Navy issue or a Vexor alone, or even just a Vexor, unless he knows he has backup. So I know he has backup. I'm trying to decide what drones to use on him, because I don't really have the ideal drones here. Valkyries would be best for him, but I've got those ochres there, so I jump through. He's aggroed for 60 seconds. I see there's a Stabber fleet issue on this side, so I know what his backup is. It's time to go. I charge the Stabber fleet issue. I want to make the most of that Jaguar's 60-second aggro. I want him to be on the other side of the gate for as long as possible, and to hopefully kill the Stabber fleet issue, or almost kill it before he gets in. Now you see I'm running newts on the Stabber fleet issue. I was hoping he was a dual rep, but it turns out he was just a 1600 plate buffer, and these newts I was running were just draining my cap for no real good reason, because he's all passive. I have Ogre 2s on him. I wish I would have had Berserkers here. The explosive damage would have been much better in this case. But I've got him scrammed, I've got him webbed. I also, another mistake I was making, you see I do it here just once, I think. I should be overloading that Tech 2 armor rep as much as possible, because it's very hard to burn those armor reps out over the course of a fight. I think most of the time you can get between 2 and 4 minutes, depending on the ship, depending on the setup, of overload. So it's a pretty smart bet to overload your Tech 2 rep, not your ancillary. In this ship I have you see the Jaguar's back in. Now he's on me. I'm struggling with cap. I've turned the newts off because I realize I'm struggling with cap. But on this ship I have a Tech 2 medium armor rep and a regular ancillary armor rep. That combination's pretty popular, but actually recently I've come to the conclusion that I prefer just 2 Tech 2 reps, because so often in these fights you go beyond beyond the 72 seconds or whatever it lasts for that ancillary. So you can see right here, caps being a real big problem. The Stabber fleet issue is going down much slower than I had hoped. I could have overloaded my little autocannons. I have some small autocannons up in the high slots just because I had nothing else to put up there. This was a very experimental fit. For about 2 or 3 weeks, I was going through a lot of Vexor Navy issues because I thought there was a really good potential for a good solo ship there. Now I'm not so sure. I think this dual rep was probably my best idea out of all of them, except I would go with 2 Tech 2 reps if I were to try it again. I also tried a Shield Nano, kiting Vexor Navy issue, and kiting with drones as your DPS doesn't work very well. You see I killed the Stabber fleet issue, but I didn't kill the Jag. Had I managed my capacitor a little bit better, overloaded a little bit better, had I done any of those things better, I would have stayed alive long enough to kill that Jaguar and escape alive. This video is me in a linked tornado. I have skirmish links, so this isn't exactly solo, and I very rarely, if never, use warfare links. This is the only video I've ever released where I'm using links. And the reason I'm using them is because I had the chance to use them, and I wanted to see, you know, just what difference it would make on PvP. And the truth is, it makes a big difference. So I'm in the tornado. First target was a Caracal. He was off gateaways, and he was willing to take gate guns. So we're in low sec, so what the heck? I'm gonna go for this Caracal. Now, if you notice the Caracal, he's going down a lot slower than you would expect. And by the way, in my links, that's Hans. He's somewhere else in system in a safe spot. providing the links for speed, point range, and I believe agility. So I'm overloading my invul because that's really my only tank. My only way to affect my tank is to overload my invul. The reason I'm doing that, and the Brutix is in now, is I'm trying to get as much out of that armor buffer on the Tornado as possible. The Tornado is just an armor buffer, some shield extenders, an invul, long point. I've got the 800mm autocannons up there in the highs. It's crucial when you're flying a kiting Tornado like this. Like ideally, I want to try to stay between 20 and 30k for my targets. I do not want to get scrammed or webbed. If I can avoid getting scrammed or webbed, it's pretty much impossible for me to die here, as long as I keep good situational awareness. Now, you see the Loki that came in. That's a big threat to me. If he comes to help these guys, he could warp to this wreck right here and be right beside me. He could get 2 webs on me. Could be a dual web Loki, and it'd be over. The Brutix would get on top of me, and I would go down pretty fast. They'd get under my tracking maybe. Either way, I would die. But luckily, the Loki warps off. One of the big benefits of Lynx is it's very easy to maintain range because of your agility and your speed. But also, you're able to have a greater range because of your point range. I can point out at like 40k or 47k or whatever it is. So I've killed the Caracal and the Drake. Drake went down really fast. He probably had a pretty bad fit. So I've switched over to Fusion. I was using Phase Plasma for thermal damage. For the Brutix, I'm anticipating this Brutix is going to have a pretty good tank. So I've switched over to Fusion ammo, and I'm going to try to get through his tank pretty fast because I'm almost out of capacitor. You see, really one of the big problems with this Tornado is it's very low on capacitor. But what I'm noticing right here in the fight is that he's not moving very fast. Look at his velocity. It's like less than 200 and slowing. He's gave up trying to catch me, and now he's putting all his attention into operating his tank and trying to stay alive, probably while his buddies reship. So what I do is I turn my micro warp drive off. There's no reason for me to be running it non-stop if he's not chasing me. So I've got to be careful. I got to make sure that he doesn't turn on his micro warp drive and run at me. But for the most part, I'm good to leave it off right now. Trying to always check scan, make sure nothing else is coming in. And with these large autocannons, the closer I get to him, the more DPS I do. So I did it a little while ago. I manually shortened my keep at. And I use keep at because keep at's the best option for tracking. Orbiting a target you're trying to track isn't ideal if you really want to track it. You want to use keep at when at all possible. It's going to give you much better tracking. So right now it's just a matter of waiting for his tank to go down. I'm obviously doing more DPS than his tank can handle, but it's just going to take some time because I'm not doing a whole lot more than his tank can handle. I believe he's a dual rep. And there he goes. Brutix is down. So I killed a Caracal, a Drake, and a Brutix. Now usually that would be really, really awesome. But because I had Lynx, I don't know. I don't. Ever since then, I've decided I'm not going to use Lynx anymore. It's 100% solo because it just I don't like it. I don't think other people should do it, and I don't want to do it myself. So I'm not going to do it. I do use those Lynx in fleets though. I think in fleets they're invaluable. But for solo, it's not very reasonable to expect your everyday solo PvPer to have a Link alt in system at all times. That's ridiculous. And that's not solo. So right now I'm flying a Comet. I had a lot of fun with this Comet. And I'm actually working on a separate project with the Comet right now that I might announce sometime in the future, where I've got a alt I've trained up to fly just like interceptors, comets, that kind of thing. And I'm just seeing different tactics I can use and kind of exploring what I can do with the Comet. But in this case, I was using a railgun Comet on my main Abaddon 21. And I had antimatter loaded, faction antimatter. The whole idea here is that I have a scram, web, and an afterburner. So in these little faction warfare plexes, I know the fight's going to start relatively close to each other on the entrance of the plex. And so like with this Firetail, I have keep at set, I believe it's 6,500. I've since changed that keep at to 7,000 as my default. So I just go in, scram web, afterburner, keep at, overload the guns, overload the afterburner if needed to get out. You see that he got pretty close. He was actually able to stay with me for a while, and by getting away from him, I reduced the DPS he does to me. But because I have railguns, my DPS is still maxed out. My DPS is probably better because of tracking at 7K than it is at 2K. And the whole idea of this fit is to exploit the fact that most frigates fit for maximum damage up close. And if you get out beyond about 5K of these frigates that have blasters or autocannons, if you get out beyond that 5K mark, you basically remove 80% or more of their DPS output. So it's kiting within scram range is what it's called. Now it's a Comet versus a Jaguar. And you would think, you know, this is just basically a souped up Tech 1 frigate I'm in. Kind of similar to the Tyrannus, so similar to an Interceptor in a lot of its stats. You wouldn't think it'd be able to kill a Jaguar, because a Jaguar is an assault ship, right? So right now I'm just checking. What I'm checking is to see the optimal range bonus on the Jaguar. And I'm trying to think, well, is that going to be enough to negate my advantage that I have by sitting out at 7K? So in faction warfare, what I was able to do, and what you can go do right now, you go to these systems here all around Amamake, Cormonen, any other faction warfare space. I happen to do it here because it's busier. But you go there, you go system to system, and you go and you check out these small and novice plexes. Use your directional scanner, find the ones with stuff in them, go in and fight it. It's an easy way to get pretty fast fights without having to really look for too long between each fight. Also, you can just sit inside the plex, run your scanner, and know exactly what's coming in on you. So I land right next to the Jag. Hurry up, I need to get at range. I make a mistake here, and if you notice, I do not put out my drones. So I completely forget about my drones. The reason I forget about them is because I was testing moving my drones to the bottom right of my screen to see how I like that. I've since gone back to the old way of doing it, where I keep them up at the top of my screen. I just got irritated. I kept forgetting about them because I don't see them up at the top. But that's why I forgot the drones in this case. So you see, he's a shield tank. He's riding peak tank now. I'm a armor buffer tank. I've got a 400mm plate, I believe, on this setup. So really, it's not looking all that good. But as I get to a further range on him, the more range I get on him, the less DPS he does to me. And I do about the same or maybe more DPS at that range. I'm kind of monitoring my heat. I probably could have left it overloading the entire time, but I certainly don't want to burn out before he dies. And I saw that I had some safety margin there, so I'm not going to risk burning out. Although I did put a lot of heat into those mid slots there. It's all about range. If you can't dictate range in this Comet setup, then you're dead. Now here's where I got overconfident. And I knew that this was a bad idea when I did it. And that doesn't stop me most of the time. Most of the time I'll do stuff that I know is an absolute bad idea and I'm probably going to lose just to see what I can do. I've always got to try to push the limits and see just exactly how far can I push a setup. So I wanted to know, is there any chance this Comet can kill a competent Thrasher? I didn't know this Thrasher was competent, but I have to assume if he's sitting on the entrance to a novice plex, he can't go in. It's a novice, so destroyers aren't allowed. But I'm on the inside, so I decide, okay, he can't get to me, but he wants to fight me, evidently, if he's sitting on the entrance. I'm going to warp off to something close by, turn around, and warp back to him. You see me typing that in chat there. So it's going to take a while, but I'm going to get there. And the reason I'm trying this, I know that the Thrasher gets a big bonus to its autocannon range, or if it's already, I'm really in trouble. But it gets a really big bonus to its autocannon range to where it's still pretty effective out to about 10k. If I were to do this again, I would probably reset my keypad, and I would set it to somewhere right around 9k, and I would just overheat my scram as needed to stay right on the very, very edge of scram range. And I think maybe that would have given me the edge to make this happen. But in this case, what I'm doing is I'm just finding out. I warped in at 10. I'm going to find out what I can do here. Lock him up. DPS on target as fast as possible, because the faster you get DPS on target, the more likely you are to win. Many fights are decided just by who gets DPS on first. Alright, so get out to my range. You can see he's already into my armor, and he's moving pretty quick through it. He's obviously a armor tank himself, which is not good. So I'm just going to sit there. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to judge right now, do I have a chance at winning? And I'm seeing my armor go down faster than his, and I'm thinking, no, I don't think I have a chance at winning this fight. So I immediately find something away from him, the opposite direction of him, to align to. And I start aligning and overloading that afterburner. The good thing about this ship is that it can control range. And since I can control the range of the fight, I can easily escape his point range and warp off. You see there's a Tormentor that comes in there right at the end. But I'm not sure why it's not warping yet. He must have overloaded his point, or maybe had links on that scram. I don't know. It seemed like it didn't drop until about 13k or so. Had that been an RD Thrasher, I'd have been in real trouble. I may have still gotten away, I don't know, but it would have shredded through me significantly faster. Now, this is back to the Wolf. I love the Wolf as an assault ship. It's still a great assault ship, and I've used it a lot ever since the Wolf Pro Guide 2, because I still love this ship. You see here there's a Talos, Oracle, Stiletto, Saber. Nothing here is a big threat to the Wolf, except for potentially the Saber. The Oracle and the Talos are going to struggle to track me. And you see I charged the gate. I jumped into this camp, charged the gate. Everything aggroed. I made sure to take notice of that. Everything aggroed me before I jumped back through. The only one to jump with me, the Saber. Now, Saber versus Wolf, it's a throw-up. I mean, it's a toss-up. You don't know what's going to happen. If he's PvP fit, I'm going to struggle. If he's pure fleet fit, like just fleet tackle, I'm going to just completely own him. So I decide I've got them aggroed for 60 seconds. I'm going to charge right in and just rage on this guy and try to take him down as fast as possible. Overload, get right on top of him, and overload my tank if needed, and kill him. Now, it doesn't look like a shield tank, but you saw a little boost in the shield. He probably has like a small ASB or something. Not suggested. So right as he goes down, the Talos makes it through the gate. As long as I get moving quickly, that Talos isn't going to do anything to me. I need to be moving before he locks me. Otherwise, you know, those large battleship guns aren't going to track me very well. And right as I'm going out here, you see that Stiletto jumps back in. Had the Stiletto got in sooner, there's a Scimitar as well coming to save him. But had the Stiletto got in sooner and got a point on me, maybe he could have held me down long enough and kept me at range to where the battle cruisers there could have had a chance, but probably not. I probably would have just tried to orbit the gate and de-aggro and jump through. But nonetheless, I burned out of the bubble and warped off before they could get their logistics and tackle on the field. It's the Wolf again against a Hawk and an Inyo. So I was again checking plexes. I was trying to do this whole plex fighting with the Wolf. This is my standard Wolf fit though, and too many people fit specifically for plex fighting, like my Comet, for a general purpose fit like my General Wolf to work well here. But in this case, I've got a Hawk and a Firetail and scan. But I believe I saw before this that there was an Inyo, and I was preparing for the Inyo. I've got fusion ammo loaded. So I was coming for the Inyo, hoping the other stuff wouldn't come. The Hawk lands right at the same time I do. I could try to run here, but who cares? Let's fight. Let's see if I can kill them both. So I engage. I'm going to take this Inyo down as fast as possible and then switch to the Hawk. Hoping the Inyo doesn't have much of a tank. I'm hoping he'll drop real quick. Going to overload my rep, overload my guns. I want to get as much DPS out and tank as much DPS as possible. I gotta stay alive long enough for this guy to die. Now, it looks real bad. I'm not holding my tank. I'm gonna die at this point. There's little doubt that I'm gonna die. So now my entire purpose of this fight, I've got to kill this guy before I die. I've got to do it. And then if I survive for another extra couple seconds, I'm gonna put some DPS on that Hulk just for the heck of it. So I got him. I was in structure, but I got him. And the fact is, if you go in an assault ship and you fight 2 assault ships at the same time and you kill one, I think that's a pretty good trade. And that's a fun fight to have, where you go 2 versus 1 and pretty even setups as far as ships. And you still take down one before you go down.